this event here today, because today we are launching the Industrial Development Report 2026, the UNIDO flagship analytical publication, a key analytical contribution to global industrial development discourse. In line with UNIDO's Vision 2050, the report analyzes how global megatrends are redefining industrial development. The Dubrovnik Forum is one of Europe's most distinguished platforms for strategic dialogue, and this is why it is important to be here and to present this report here. A time of profound global transformation, the question of how countries build more resilient, competitive, and sustainable industries, it's not just an economic matter, it's a matter of strategic positioning, social cohesion, and long-term stability, something we all want. UNIDO has been working for over 5 decades, almost 6, to help countries harness industrialization as a driver for inclusive and sustainable development through technical cooperation, analytical work, multi-stakeholder partnerships. UNIDO operates across Europe, Central Asia, and beyond, translating global knowledge into concrete results on the ground. And this report has been published for more than 2 decades and is recognized internationally. The 2026 edition examines how global megatrends, and this is exactly what we are talking about, and why it is so important, this discussion today, is where are we heading, what are the megatrends, what is the future that we can expect. And the regional chapter on Europe and Central Asia was developed in collaboration with the University of Dubrovnik, a broad network of regional experts, a partnership that reflects the depth of ties between UNIDO and Croatia. And let's dive deeper into the discussion. Today we have an outstanding lineup of speakers, and I'm confident that this discussion will generate insights and perspectives that are directly actionable. And in my role as a social futurist, I would like to invite you to be engaged, to ask questions, and really comment on anything that is happening. We want something to change here today, not just to talk, but we want action. And we will begin by a video message from Mr. Gerhard Müller, the Director General of UNIDO. Mr. Müller has led UNIDO since 2021 and has been a consistent champion of inclusive and sustainable industrialization. Under his leadership, UNIDO has expanded its technical cooperation work, as well as partnerships with member states in the region and engagement with the private sector and innovation ecosystem. I've seen it, I've been really part of that. So if we can have his video message, please.
Dear Minister, Excellencies, it is a pleasure to address you today at the Dubrovnik Forum. Dubrovnik has long been a place of dialogue, cooperation, and exchange. There is no better setting to discuss the opportunities and challenges shaping our shared future. At a time of growing uncertainty, investment in industry, innovation, and skills is more important than ever. Eastern Europe and Central Asia are at the center of these transformations. The region has strong industrial traditions, a highly skilled workforce, and great innovation potential. UNIDO works with countries worldwide to turn opportunities into sustainable growth and to build industries that are greener, more competitive, and more inclusive. We help create jobs, strengthen businesses, and improve people's lives. UNIDO's Industrial Development Report 2026, presented here, offers valuable insights and practical recommendations for policymakers, businesses, and partners across the region. It is not just analysis, it is a roadmap to harness emerging opportunities for your region. I would like to thank the University of Dubrovnik and Croatia experts for their valuable contribution to the report. Croatia is a country of vision, expertise, and important partner for UNIDO. Together, we can build stronger industries, create new opportunities, and support sustainable development. Thank you.
And we have also the honor to have Mr. Zdenko Lucic, State Secretary for Trade and Development Cooperation of the Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs of Croatia, who will be delivering his welcoming remarks. The State Secretary Lucic has been a key figure in advancing Croatia's engagement with international development cooperation and economic diplomacy. Under his stewardship, the ministry has championed Croatia's role as a provider of EU accession experience to countries navigating similar transitions, a role that is uniquely relevant to the European and Central Asian region. Thank you for that. Croatia and UNIDO have been working systematically to deepen their cooperation, and the co-organization of today's event is a concrete expression of that shared commitment. We are very pleased to have the Ministry's strong involvement. State Secretary Lucic, the floor is yours. And having the conversation, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Selma. You did a wonderful work in your previous speech, in the first speech, and actually I would like to commend how you for your sales speech on UNIDO. That's something that we don't hear quite often, so kudos to you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to Dubrovnik Forum. It's our 19th edition, so it's a quite a long tradition for a country that lasts or has its newly gained independence for over 35 years. At the beginning, allow me to express our gratitude to Ms. Cecilia Ugaz Estrada, Deputy Director General of and her colleagues at UNIDO. I would like to express the appreciation for your initiative to launch the Industrial Development Report right here at the Dubrovnik Forum. I would also like to express our appreciation to UNIDO for its long-standing leadership in advancing inclusive and sustainable industrial development, and for choosing the Dubrovnik Forum as the platform for presenting regional findings of the important report. As we heard, geopolitical tensions, disruptions in supply chains, all possible crises that we could think of have rapid technological implementation and are reshaping our economic landscape. These developments are testing resilience of our economies, and they require all the segments of our society to work together, governments, businesses, and international institutions to adapt to new realities. One of my colleagues here, Irena, said earlier, or it was maybe her husband's quote, that actually with all this crisis and with the technological developments humankind had invented, we are actually able to react to the crisis faster, and this is important. And we saw during the COVID, we saw with war in Ukraine, now Iran, that actually global economy recovers much faster than it was decades ago, and the technological development has great influence on that. International cooperation and effective multilateralism remains indispensable. No country can successfully fight this or address these challenges in isolation. I'm particularly pleased that this edition of the report contains the part that's on Eastern Europe and Central Asia, the region with good skill force, strong industrial tradition, geographic connectivity, and growing technological capabilities. This report shows that the future of industrial development lies on investment in innovation, advanced manufacturing, renewable energy, digital technologies, and human capital. I would also add affordable energy and the speed of implementation. The speed is crucial in the modern world. As a member of the European Union, Croatia is actively working to strengthen industrial competitiveness while accelerating the green and digital transition. We believe that sustainable industrial development is not only an economic objective, it is also a foundation for social cohesion, quality employment, technological progress, and long-term resilience. Through joint efforts, Croatia seeks not only to advance its own competitiveness, but also to contribute to broader regional cooperation and to support sustainable development beyond our borders. I hope today's discussion will not only reflect on the future of industrialization, but also contribute to practical cooperation across the region. Allow me to conclude by taking UNIDO, the University of Dubrovnik, rector over here, and all partners involved in the preparation of the regional chapter of Industrial Development Report. I look forward to exchange views and to hear the valuable insights, and that will be shared by UNIDO and our distinguished panelists. And to paraphrase Selma, let's create the future together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, State Secretary, and I really would like to send the kudos are to Croatia. If there is a country in the European Union that knows how to rebuild and how to survive and how to really resiliently create a new future, then it is Croatia, and your experience will be very important for others that are coming up. Thank you very much for your words. And now we will have the keynote presentation, really the shortcut of the report. You have on your seats the report or a summary of the report, but the full report is available in the back if you would like to have it. And Ms. Cecilia Ugas Estrada is Deputy to the Director General and Managing Director of the Directorate of Strategic Planning, Programming and Policy at UNIDO. Ms. Ugas Estrada leads UNIDO Analytical and Knowledge Agenda, including the 2026 Industrial Development Report. She will present the report's key findings and the implications for the countries of Eastern Europe, Europe, and Central Asia. And we'll look forward to your presentation. The floor is yours.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me first to begin by thanking the government of Croatia and the Ministry for Foreign and European Affairs for the generous hospitality and for the excellent organization of this year's Dubrovnik Forum. We are deeply honored as UNIDO that we have been allowed to bring the regional launch of the Industrial Development Report 2026 to such a distinguished platform. I would like to thank State Secretary Lucic for his presence here and for his insightful remarks, which set an excellent note for the discussions this afternoon. The remarks that we have heard remind us of something fundamental. We are navigating a world that is becoming more uncertain, but also more interconnected. And this is precisely why industrial development matters. The Industrial Development Report 2026 asks a simple but crucial question. How can countries build industries that remain competitive, resilient, and sustainable in a rapidly changing world? Before turning into the findings of the report, let me briefly acknowledge the collaboration process that is behind this report. The idea brings together expertise from UNIDO, but also from academics, from private sector, from government, and from civil society, and is grounded also in regional realities. For Eastern and Central Europe, our main research partner was the University of Dubrovnik, whose excellent background work and regional insights greatly enriched the report. We are deeply grateful to the rector here present and his team for this important contribution. And it is really fitting that we are bringing the launch of this report and the chapter on Central and Eastern European countries precisely to Dubrovnik, where it was really originally conceived. So thank you very much for that. I would like to mention, maybe I should start already with Yeah, this is something that Selma already presented a little bit, so what the idea is, and the main title of the report, we are really looking at the future of industrialization. The basis for the work that is presented here are basically simulations, right? We really wanted to know how the industry would look like from here until 2050, and in particular, what will be the underlying factors that are going to be affecting industrial development all over the world. Of course, here, for this audience, we will be focusing mainly on the chapter on Central and Eastern Europe and Central Asia. The Industrial Development Report is already, I must mention, in its 12th edition. Currently, we are preparing the 13th edition, so it is a biennial publication. So it means that we have been really presenting a Industrial Development Report for about 25 years, which is also something that we must highlight. So please just getting into the main messages of the report. So I think it will not be surprising for you to say, if I say that there are main mega trends, all over the world that are shaping industrial development. The 2050, this Industrial Development Report is focusing basically on 5 mega trends. The first one, you can read them, consecutively, is energy and green transition. The second one is the rise of artificial intelligence and digitalization in production. The third one is the reconfiguration of global value chains. The fourth is demographic change, so population growth and the changing of the nature of work. And finally, the transformation of food systems. Taking together, these trends are reshaping where the value is created globally. And also for policymakers, the challenge is not whether the changes are going to happen, but whether we can position ourselves strategically within them. If I go maybe just quickly to the first mega trend, so when we are talking about the green transition, the energy and the green transition, it is, I think, no surprise for you if I say that industry is moving towards a cleaner and more resource-efficient production. This is not only about climate, it is about competitiveness. And what we're really witnessing is a change in the way that competitiveness is being defined. For this region, countries that adapt early can capture opportunities in renewable energy, electric mobility, and critical materials. But the transition, as you may guess, is very uneven. So without investments and upgrading, economies risk remaining in low value added activities, and this is a real danger. Now let me turn to the second, the race on artificial intelligence and digitalization of production. So production is becoming more data-driven, automated, and interconnected. As I was mentioning before, these shift changes are changing the foundations of competitiveness. So we're leaving behind the old paradigm that you produce cheaper and you are competitive towards a paradigm that really relies on the availability of technology and availability of technical skills. So the opportunity for this region are very clear, but the benefits are not automatic. Skill gaps and weak innovation systems risk widening existing dividends, especially for small firms. If I go to the reconfiguration of global value chains, this is our third mega trend. Production is becoming also more regional and more strategic. Firms are looking for supply chains that are not only efficient, but also resilient and reliable. We see 2 important trends on this. The first is called backshoring, where production is brought back home, close to home, and friendshoring, where firms are relocating activities to trusted partners. For Eastern Europe and Central Asia, this creates both risk and opportunities. There is a risk that investment is redirected elsewhere, especially in economies that remain concentrated in low-cost activities, but the region has also important advantages: proximity to major markets, existing industrial base, and accumulated production capabilities. The key question is therefore not only how to remain part of the value chains, but how to move from assembly towards design, engineering, innovation, and system integration. So scaling up within the value chain. If we go to the fourth mega trend, we are talking here about demographics and the future of work. Labor markets in Eastern Europe and Central Asia are changing rapidly. Population is aging, and firms are facing growing skills shortages. At the same time, the new technologies are reshaping industrial work. Routine tasks are becoming more exposed to automation, but new opportunities are also emerging in areas that require digital skills, technical expertise, and problem-solving capabilities. Once again, for the region, this presents both challenges and opportunities. Without investment in education, vocational training, and reskilling, skill gaps will slow down industrial upgrading. But with the right capabilities, digital technologies can really help firms to raise productivity, adapt to labor shortages, and build more resilient industries. Transformation of food. This is our final mega trend. Food systems are becoming more industrialized with stronger links between agriculture and manufacturing. Demand is rising for processed, higher quality, traceable, and sustainable food products. For Eastern Europe and Central Asia, this creates important opportunities. The region has a strong agricultural resources and long tradition of food production. The opportunity lies in adding value locally through processing, packaging, logistics, and branding. Without these investments, countries risk remaining exporters of raw products, raw materials. So how can we really prepare for the future, right? I mean, I think this is the major question that you may have in mind at the moment. So how can the region really be facing this future, this future for industrialization? So the idea identifies 7 enablers. So these factors that are really underpinning the moving towards future-ready industries. I cannot read them very clearly from here, but let me read it from my paper. So these 7 factors are institutions, infrastructure, labor force, technology, trade and integration, production greening, and finance. The key message, and I think this is very important, is that any of these enablers can really address in isolation. You definitely need all of them to be addressed more or less in parallel because they reinforce each other. Yeah? So future-ready industrialization requires coordinated action. This is something that we hear this morning quite a lot. Stronger institutions, modern infrastructure, better skills, deeper innovation, greener production, and effective financing, they all move in tandem. The question is then, what is the situation, the real situation in the region, and where do Eastern Europe and Central Asia stand across these key enablers? This is something that the report has managed to do, of course, with the help from the colleagues from the Dubrovnik University. So let me show you this. This is one of the main, and I promise it's not as complicated as it looks like. Okay, so basically what you are seeing there is like, this half circle, this gray area, really shows the frontier in the world. We have basically placed all the key enablers that I mentioned before, the 7, and these are represented, each of them, by 2 indicators. That's why you see 2 bars, so two times 7 bars on the same colors. And these, all of them, basically what they are trying to show is where the region stands with respect to the world frontier. The world frontier being 100. So if you read the graphic, for instance, you see already that in terms of infrastructure, which is the 2 orange bars, you have one that is very well located, and this is access to electricity. This is a very, very important enabler, for instance, for industrialization. Here, the region scores 100%, top of the world, no problem. You have others, that are more related to the quality of institutions, the blue ones, the turquoise ones, that are in the bottom, and that they basically refer to political stability and government effectiveness. Then you also rank quite well. You are up above 50%. I don't see very well the 59 and 51, I think. So these are kind of relatively good numbers. Also on the other side, when we are talking about finance, we are talking about debt. I think it's debt stability, and this is also quite good. So this kind of macro management is very well there. Nevertheless, you see other bars that are kind of lower, right? And I would like really to focus your attention in particular to the green ones, which refers to the innovation ecosystems and research and development. And there, the region is lagging a bit behind with respect to the rest of the world. The percentages are not very high, and I think this is something that definitely requires some action in order to be able, for the countries in this region to be able to, I wouldn't say catch up, but really continue, with the trend of the future-ready industrial development. I would just like to maybe take the main takeaways that will sort of be part also of the panel discussion. So let me conclude by just giving you 3 takeaways. The first one is build on existing strengths. We already mentioned and we have already recognized that this region has a very strong base on industrialization. You have all the possibilities on building on what you know how to do. But in particular, what you definitely need to do is to modernize, right? So and the basis for industrialization is very important. The second one is you have to address persistent bottlenecks. And by this, I'm basically referring to the importance of research and development and innovation ecosystems. Without tackling them, opportunities will remain out of reach. And the third one is that you need to focus on strategic sectors, from clean technologies to digital manufacturing and agro-industry. In short, the challenge is to move from participation in value chains to value creation within value chains. Because the next step is not only to understand these trends, but to also know how to translate them into concrete actions, and how can countries in the region strengthen their resilience, enhance competitiveness, and cooperate more effectively. So I think then we have the discussion of this panel, so I'm very pleased to give back the floor to Selma, and I'm really looking forward to the insights that this panel is going to be providing in the discussion this afternoon. Thank you very much.
And I would like to just to add one thing that is always a question when we're talking about the megatrends and implementation and action. As an entrepreneur, there is, when I look at this, there is one thing that is missing, and that is speed of whatever you do and whatever the power you have. It is the speed of implementation. So in terms of speed of implementation, we have a great panel now, and I would like to kindly ask all the panelists to join me on the stage, and we will start. Thank you. And now we are starting and going really deeper into the whole conversation, and I'm really pleased to have voices here on the stage from government, international community, academia, and innovation sector. The panel will be organized in 2 sections. One first will be reflecting on the major trends that we just have heard, and the second one, what does it mean in practice? I'll shortly introduce each panelist before asking the question, and the first panelist is Mr. Giorgio Kocic, which I have the opportunity to meet every now and then with UNIDO, and it's a pleasure. Ambassador at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary. Hungary and UNIDO share a dynamic and innovative partnership. A new joint project has been recently launched in Rwanda. However, Hungary's engagement goes well beyond traditional development cooperation. It includes also knowledge exchange program through which a Hungarian expert is embedded within UNIDO operations, as well as close work with academia, including the technology transfer company of the University of Szeged. And Mr. Kocsis has been a close partner and friend of UNIDO along this way. Looking at the IDR and the highlights that we have now just heard, and the reconfiguration of the global value chains, deeper integration into regional systems. From your perspective, how can countries in Central and Eastern Europe, particularly along the Danube corridor, leverage connectivity and regional cooperation to move up the value chain and strengthen their industrial development?
Thank you so much, and thank you to UNIDO also for the invitation. Indeed, the partnership between Hungary and UNIDO has been growing in recent years with many different achievements. And thank you very much for building this question on the launch of the IDR. I think what is extremely important is that we need to have a vision, and that vision needs to build cooperation and then take tangible action. So there is a threefold approach to this. And it's particularly good to see the vision here with the Industrial Development Report. UNIDO has a very ambitious time frame for vision until 2050. Nowadays, when we barely can think of the next quarter, but building on those visions is extremely important. And when we talk about regional cooperation, we also have this vision, and it's very important to take that forward. Just this week, it's a very current topic to speak about this, as there was a Visegrad 4 summit in Hungary, where many of these key challenges that are highlighted by the about the IDR report were addressed by heads of government of the region. So cooperation, for example, on infrastructure is a key issue in our region. Where north-south corridors have traditionally not existed, and it's important to build on that, to have a better approach on that. There are industries that are key to this region. For example, the automotive industry is an industry that is very much part of our economies, and they're moving to EV. And what that means in terms of supply chains, is there battery production in our countries? And is that battery production something that is up to the EU standards? Does it mean the environmental standards that we try to achieve are extremely key factors? But one thing I have to say is that you mentioned the Danube corridor in terms of a region. But what we really need to bear in mind is that this also needs, and this is why I highlighted the necessity to have a vision, that we need a readiness. So with the Danube, when we not just talk about about it as a region, but very effectively as a transit corridor, the river, we learned with the Russian aggression against Ukraine that we have to use this river more, because it is a green solution to navigate on there, and we have to have the readiness. And there I can also bring in the key findings from the report, where we see that we need the skills, we need to enable the member states of this region to build on that. We need the regulatory framework, we need constant modernization. And so for this, of course, it's a question of vision, a question of cooperation, and then very practically implementing that.
Thank you. I think that goes really well into the discussion, how we continue and really having the vision without it. And we know that in today's time, most companies, and when I work with companies, we on one hand build a 30-year vision, but it is the 6 months changing everything. And in companies where I'm on the board, usually it was like every quarter. Now we have to meet every month because things are changing so fast. But what is really interesting, what you just said, and I would like then to go to Ms. Aysel Yagubova, who is the Executive Director of the Clean Energy Center of the Economic Cooperation Organization, CESECO. Is established with the support of UNIDO, serves as the clean energy hub for the Economic Cooperation Organization, and bringing together the perspectives and experience of member states across Central Asia, South Asia, and the South Caucasus, and beyond. And your work sits at the intersection of energy transition, industrial transformation, and regional cooperation, themes that are central for today. The IDR highlights the growing importance of the energy transition in shaping future industrial competitiveness, and how can countries really translate that renewable energy potential into concrete industrial upgrading. We have seen that war made it a river to be the green solution. So what else can we do? So how can you set up in the report?
Yes, thank you very much, and I'm also very thankful to UNIDO for having me here and also joining these distinguished panelists to be able to present the CESECO's perspectives, also to talk on the Central Asian perspective. So as you mentioned, indeed, our organization is covering even broader geography. They're representing the region of the Economic Cooperation Organization, but however, since today's UNIDO's Industrial Development Report is focusing, now we are talking about Eastern Europe and Central Asia. So I will limit my position, the perspective more on the Central Asia region. So when we are talking about the structural transformation going there in the region, and it is, I'm sure, that valid for the overall, for any part of the global world, what we need there is strong institutions, we need access to long-term finance, we need efficient capital markets, we need public-private cooperation and coordination. And obviously, but last but not least, probably would be the just transition. Not to forget that socio-economic rights have to be definitely respected in that regard. Let me at this point mention just this kind of chronology when looking into the region. What we see there in Central Asia, just even lately, the topic of the energy transition, renewable energy, and also its nexus with climate is becoming more and more important. And not only important, but also the states, the countries take ownership for that. For example, just recently, let me name just several international events, regional international events that even some of our colleagues attended there. In April, we participated in Regional Ecological Summit in Astana, Kazakhstan, that brought together not only Central Asian countries, but even well beyond that geography. Beginning of June, there was this Global Environment Facilities 8th Assembly taking place in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. In May, Tajikistan hosted the UN's International Conference on Water Decade. In Turkmenistan, from time to time, we see the country hosting the international conferences dedicated on the SDG promotions, providing for the SDGs. And while doing this, while committing themselves and showing their commitment to the environment, the countries do it equally important with their commitment to the green industrialization. So that goes hand in hand with having the environment goals, taking into account the climate change, along with green industrialization. If we talk about the renewable energy, the Central Asia region, it has vast, abundant potential of renewable energy. And just this small number, and also has been mentioned in various reports, the potential of the renewable energy in Central Asia is around 5,500 gigawatts. Out of those, about a bit more than 100 gigawatt has already been installed in place. So there are even much more there to explore and to install that. But and what it can give, what kind of value it can create for the region. Definitely, with the renewable energy production, the energy itself, it will get cheaper, and it involving it into industry as a circle, so it will attract even and make industry outcomes even cheaper. Another thing with the renewable energy, it's the revenues that can be acquired from its export. So what we heard also in the previous session from the distinguished Minister of Foreign Affairs of Uzbekistan, we heard about the potential of the Trans-Caspian Green Energy Corridor. So that potential of bringing central green energy from Central Asia to Europe. For that, what we already have, and that has been already included into the even European Union's 10-year network development plan, we have the Caspian Sea Black Sea connector, green interconnector that has been included in EU's 10-year network development plan. And there we also have this Central Asia, Azerbaijan, having Azerbaijan in the middle, and then Europe. So that definitely is bringing the green energy, green electricity from Central Asia to Europe, that it brings again another revenues for the region. Another thing, and then I will just stop here my remarks at this point, would be that definitely how this will create the values for the region. It's this employment opportunities and also improving and industrial opportunities. So what we say by that both of them are definitely equally important. And from also the report highlights this institutional capacities. Under the institutional, we definitely not only some, so to say, buildings, but also we are talking about the human capacities. So the region definitely has been for years traditionally has been the mostly fossil fuel exporting or hydrocarbon resource rich countries, the rich region, and there the capacities, human capacities, have been developed, have been focusing on that particular sectors. So for that regards, now the reskilling and upskilling requirement will be needed and required for that region. So if we go the country by country, these numbers were also mentioned in the previous session, where we heard about that Kazakhstan's target for increasing its renewable energy share by 50% by 2050. We heard again about Uzbekistan's ambitious target to have 23 gigawatt installed capacity by 2030. We have again some targets from Tajikistan stating that the electricity by 2032 to have 100% of electricity from the hydropowers. Again, for the Kyrgyz Republic, they also have the strong, huge potential hydropower potential. So these renewable energy potential and already installed capacities open new ways, new chapters for the region. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and it is definitely a very deep look into the region and that we don't often see, and thank you very much for your remarks and showing how much is being done for the green development and renewable energy, and again mentioning water in that sense. We were moving to Mr. Sokol Duma, who is the advisor to the Minister of State and Chief Negotiator at the Office of the Prime Minister of Albania. Albania is one of UNIDO's active and committed partners in the Western Balkans. UNIDO and Albania have built a strong and diverse cooperation portfolio comprising projects covering quality infrastructure, agro-industry, energy efficiency, and industrial policy. UNIDO and Albania are now developing a new large-scale program for country partnership that will further anchor and scale the organization's role in the country's industrial transformation and its EU accession journey. Mr. Duma brings direct and first-hand insights from a country navigating exactly the kind of industrial transformation discussed in today's report. Mr. Duma, the transforming potential of digital technologies, but also it is a risk of widening gaps between early adopters and latecomers, drawing on Albania's efforts to build digital ecosystem and leverage AI. How can small economies use digitalization, not just to modernize, but to leapfrog into higher value activities?
Okay, let me start by thanking for having me, Selma, and also by thanking UNIDO for the excellent past and future cooperation. It has been actually great for the past 2 years to have their support in my previous tenure. To get back to your question, actually Albania is a very good example on how digital technologies can represent both an opportunity but also a challenge. On the opportunity side, Albania has built a very strong GovTech foundation. We now have around 95% of public services offered online. So basically, citizens can access public services online without physically going to public offices. It is through the Albania platform, which actually today has 3.4 million registered active users, both inside the country and throughout the Albanian diaspora. This infrastructure has actually produced real savings, estimated at around 620 million euros, or an equivalent of 7,600 years, cumulative years of waiting time avoided in public service offices.
Again,
So,
what was the number again? That's interesting.
7,600 cumulative years.
Okay.
So basically, the public digital infrastructure exists. Now the challenge, yes, we have conducted a study on that, so it's a very big number. So basically, the public digital infrastructure exists. The challenge would be how to use this digital infrastructure to progress into a productive transformation for businesses. And here, actually, the picture is more mixed, and we get to see the challenges. So Albanian SMEs score only 32 points on the OECD Digital Transformation Index. Compare this to 54 points of regional average. This shows that in our case, digital economy is lacking behind the digital state. And it's not yet catching up. For a small economy like ours, competing on scale is basically not realistic. We should be competing on being faster and more flexible, obviously. For that to happen, digitalization must not remain only in GovTech. It should expand, and it should be a tool to help businesses improve their productivity and move into higher value activities. There is actually one figure that shows this perfectly, and it is through the Albania's SME policy document, made also through the support of UNIDO. The highest digital performance indicator is use of technology by businesses, and we are at 100.4 points. But the lowest performance indicator is ICT services export, at only 28.6 points. So what this means? This means that basically Albanian firms are using digital tools, but they are not yet sufficiently producing and exporting digital value. Therefore, we need to move from the demand side to the supply side of technology. In regards to artificial intelligence, I believe that we should have a practical approach. We cannot think we can produce or create large models. We have the advantage of creating clear energy, basically because of our hydropower. So we score 103 points on the OECD Green Dimension, which is above the EU average. But if we combine clean electricity with AI support production, we can enter the green European value chains from a better position. And why is this important in the case of Albania? This matters because our current industrial carbon intensity is 1.03 kilograms of CO2 per unit of value added, compared to an EU average of 0.13 kilograms. So to conclude, I would say that digitalization can bring transformation, but only if, not only to modernize public services. This is obviously a value added, but it's limited.
Thank you very much, but it's really interesting to see that the government has succeeded in having such success, and while the private sector, the businesses are lagging behind. But this is exactly what we can talk about with Mr. Nebojša Stojčić, who is the rector of the University of Dubrovnik, and of course, who holds this very special place today here. The regional chapter of the IDR 2026 on Europe and Central Asia was developed in close collaboration with the University of Dubrovnik. The partnership is not merely academic, it reflects UNIDO's commitment to grounding its analytical work in regional expertise and to building lasting institutional ties with regional research institutions. For UNIDO, this collaboration is a foundation for a deeper and sustained partnership with Croatia, one that UNIDO hopes will continue to emerge well beyond this engagement. Rector Stojčić, we have heard these three powerful perspectives on some of the key megatrends, but really, which of these trends do you see as offering the most significant opportunities for Europe and Central Asia?
Thank you very much and good afternoon to everybody. Allow me first to express my deep gratitude to UNIDO and Ministry of Foreign Affairs for making this presentation here in Dubrovnik, because what better acknowledgement than to speak about your work in your town. Before we to begin maybe answer to that question, I think we need first to ask ourselves what is sustainable growth model for the region in the future. Because until now, over more than almost 2 decades, in fact, our growth model, particularly in Southeastern and Central Europe, was based on three things: low labor costs, volumes, and imported technology. Now, as we outlined already in the report, due to things like demographic decline, labor shortages, this model is no longer becoming sustainable, but even more so because of the automation and all the other megatrends that we mentioned here. So essentially what we need in the region is move from low cost to capability-based growth model. Now, I wouldn't isolate any of these megatrends. In fact, if you read the report, you will see that the tone actually sends the message that they are mutually reinforcing. But nevertheless, when we look at the regional specificities, we can talk about a sort of a ladder, how they complement each other. I think that at the foundation of that ladder is probably the green transition that allows us to move from this middle tier assembly, packaging, logistics distribution zone into high value knowledge intensive hub. And we see already all over the region how it redefines our comparative advantages. For example, we talked previously about battery development processes in Hungary, even more so I would say in Poland, which I believe today holds close to 40% of EU battery manufacturing capacity. So one way these megatrends can shape the region is by combining selective foreign direct investment, which wasn't always the case in the past, with place-based industrial planning. On the other hand, in some parts like Central Asia or the Southern Caucasus, when coupled with domestic abundance of raw materials, this really allows opportunity to make a step forward into processing and higher value added issues, but also something that I would slightly disagree about ability of small countries to exploit the scale. We see an example of Slovenia, for example, how their wood cluster under ecological pressures and regulations actually allowed advanced processing, architectural design services, high value exports. Of course, this is all green, but how to connect it then with other megatrends, particularly the digital one and the connectivity. If you look across the region, we saw that report forecasts need to move towards innovation-driven growth in the region. And if you look the frontier firms, the success stories that emerged in this region over past relatively recent period, we can notice one remarkable similarity over majority of them, and that is that they are in essence born global, that they were able to circumvent the weaknesses of domestic lack of skills, lack of the workforce, the weaknesses of demand, and how did they do it with better connectivity and on the waves of digital transformation. So I would say by combining all of three of them, we can actually move towards a capability-based growth model.
Thank you very much. And two things. One, it's a lovely city. I'm on holidays here in Dubrovnik and coming back every year, so it's beautiful here. It was a pleasure to, have to come here today when I was already here on holidays. But the point, what you just mentioned in terms of the small countries, and maybe just adding to that, one of my colleagues from Estonia, an investor, said that the greatest advantage their startups have is that the country is so small that they need to think global immediately. So it's a lot of attitude and mindset that we need maybe to add into the whole equation of what is specifically needed, but it also has to do with how we perceive ourselves in the region, how we think we can do, and how much we can get there. We will go to the second round of the questions in terms of really specific actions, and I will go to each of you and kindly ask you to have shorter answers, but we still have time. Mr. Kocsis, in these global uncertainties that we're living today, what role do you think should regional and global institutions play in helping countries navigate these uncertainties?
Thank you. I think this is a very important question when we look at basically the multilateral approach. And cooperation is key here. And so regional initiatives, I already spoke about the Visegrad 4, but the previous panel in this room, there was a lot of speaking about the 3Cs initiative, for example. Yeah. So regional initiatives are extremely important, and I think it's also very important for global institutions to also have a focus on regional matters as well. Of course, UNIDO also does this, and having a regional focus. But what is very important for these organizations to actually stay relevant in the discussion is to deliver themselves on reforms and to deliver themselves on the changing world and the changing agenda, not only the geopolitical tensions, but the revolution that we are seeing in the industry is also a revolution that affects institutions, governments, and multilateral organizations. So we need to see reform. I'm very happy to speak about this here at the panel organized by UNIDO, because it is an organization that is actually implementing reform. And just in the coffee break, we were commenting on the fact that the United Kingdom is rejoining UNIDO exactly because it is an organization delivering on reform. But we need to press also other organizations to do that. We need to press the whole global UN system to do that, and also small organizations. I've been leading the Danube Commission's Committee on Reform for several years now. It is a very, very, very difficult job to do. Because there are so many factors that you need to take into account when you are working on reforms, but it is the only way to move forward. And for smaller countries, and this region is basically built of smaller countries, this is essential. Multilateralism for us, it is an absolute, it's not even a question, because it is the way that we can actually be part of the global discussion. And so for us, it is very important to have effective, well-working organizations that we can really then take into action.
Thank you. So it's multilateralism is not a question; it's a must. It's a way to act.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, if we want to be of any relevance across
Exactly.
the world. And then going to you, Ms. Jakubova, it's well, we know that innovation alone is not enough without the ecosystems to scale it. And how do you think, how can we overcome the gaps to move from the pilot projects to larger scale, and how, multilateralism is one?
Yes, thank you very much, and I'm thankful to Mr. Kochis for particularly focusing on the regional cooperation, the role of regional organizations. That actually gives me more opportunity to talk more about the organization I am representing here today, because CESECO, to name it in short, is an initiative. It's already an organization, but it was It is a part of the UNIDO's global network of sustainable energy centers, functioning all across the globe. It is the 10th center covering the Economic Cooperation Organization region, and as it is said there, it is from the region for the region. It is this regional countries, the countries within this economic community have come together to establish this particular center. So, and the main objectives, main missions is to promote renewable energy and energy efficiency, and how the centers are supposed to do that is through mobilizing technology and financial resources to the region, and also through increasing the capacities of the region. So for that regard, and what these centers give advantage to this region, and in our case, the CESECO gives advantage to this the Central Asia region, because it also promotes and is there for this South-South cooperation. We have this ability to provide the lessons from the peer centers, to bring it so that to promote both the best practices and to build on the lessons learned. So that is one thing, and responding to your question, how to overcome those gaps. So building on those and a little bit elaborating on what gaps are there. The gaps, if we talk about the policy-related gaps, and let me just first say that we have in the region and really very positive signs and absolute very open political commitments, declarations, announcements, ready for the energy transition, ready for promoting renewable energy and low carbon industries technologies. But at the same time, unfortunately, traditionally, since, as I already said, this energy, fossil fuel energy sphere has been the subsidized sphere. So in that regard, that has already is creating some gaps or difficulties. Another gap there in place is sometimes gaps or inconsistency in regulatory framework. So legislation is important, as we say, as in any other sphere, but also for this renewable energy sphere. And for that regard, now our organization, we are working on the compendium for the regional compendium of the renewable energy and energy efficiency legislation. And along with compendium, we are working on the model law, so that would bring provide a harmonized law legislation for the region, for the countries. Obviously, on the voluntary basis, the states can adapt it to their legislation or can learn the best practices from that. Another thing that's missing there, it is the existence of the reliable data. And I'm thankful indeed for the UNIDO, for the University of Dubrovnik, for this particular, our region's part, that this report will be indeed a really good basis for any other, and also a reference point for with its findings. Because sometimes even for our organization it's difficult because obviously renewable energy, the sphere is very dynamic, it's changing, and day by day you get new figures, new numbers, but sometimes it's difficult to have the verified information, the countries, the national data can be different from those international organizations provide. With regard to finance, so existence of the green bonds, green taxonomy would definitely help the region with further improving this sphere. One last thing that I want to touch upon, and as I already mentioned before, that this institutional development, the human capacities, improving the human capacities, the existing potential to transform it, as we say, that to have this reskilling and upskilling for already existing human potential. As I have started with the regional cooperation, and I will also conclude with regional cooperation. There are a number of initiatives contributing to the strengthening of the regional cooperation in Central Asia region. There is an accelerating partnership for renewable energy in Central Asia, which has been announced and provided by Iran International Renewable Energy Agency. There is this CAREC, Central Asia Renewable Economic Cooperation Program, and then the region has, as I already mentioned, SESECO. So we already have these regional policy cooperation mechanisms, and I will not dwell upon more on that. We have also these green energy corridors, economic cooperation mechanisms, opportunities already established in the region between the countries. So just to wrap up on that, the region has indeed a really great potential and the readiness to work on that, and we very much hope that, again, with the partnerships, with the international communities, we can take it further. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely the regional cooperation and the importance of it really strongly. Mr. Duma, then it is also a question of what concrete actions can governments also do and build an effective state-enabled ecosystem. We just spoke about it. You said that you have, as a government, really developed in a high level, but it's lagging on the private sector. What is it what you can do, or what you think can be done in general to improve the innovation ecosystems and build ecosystems?
Well, I would go actually a little bit beyond just innovation ecosystems, and it is interesting that in the report there was a suggestion about integration markets, which does not automatically create transformation, structural transformation. Yeah. And I think this is true also for Albania. It can create structural transformation, but we need to be prepared for it. And seeing the Albanian economic structure, we've had a steady growth for the last 15 years, at least 3.2% of GDP on average. And on the other side, manufacturing is just 6.5% of GDP, and it barely hasn't changed for the last 2 decades. Industry accounts for 22% of the GDP, but on the other hand, a large part of this is represented from construction, almost 12%. So the issue is not growth alone in the Albanian economy, is the quality of growth.
Okay.
This is why a key priority for us is to build coherent industrial policy. We actually have a lot of strategies in place. We have the Business Investment Development Strategy, the S3, a national energy and climate plan, and some other strategies I will not mention. The issue is they are working in parallel, and we need to have a coherent, inclusive policy framework for all these strategies. The second priority is quality infrastructure. We've been working actually a lot with UNIDO. There is a very successful program. In this regard, Albania scores 44.5 points on UNIDO's quality infrastructure index, which is actually below the European average of 55 points. Why is this important? This is important if we see the tourism sector, which is one of the main pillars of Albanian economy. We've had 12.5 million visitors just last year, which is huge considering the 2.5 million population of Albania. This also creates huge demand for food, beverages, and other hospitality-related products. The issue is that hotels and restaurants mainly import these goods because obviously local producers lack the proper scale, certification, and traceability. So we are leaking a market worth billions to imports, and we should prioritize quality infrastructure as well. And as a third priority, I mentioned in my previous intervention the renewable energy advantage. So I'm not really delving into that, seeing also that the time is basically finishing. But to conclude, I just wanted to mention the EU accession process, which can be a stress test for countries like Albania, but it can also be considered as a catalyst for transformation. So if we do our homeworks well, maybe integration into larger markets can mean structural transformation.
Yeah, definitely, and especially I've met so many great people working in the startup and innovation ecosystems in Tirana, and some great places to be there. Mr. Stojcic, to finalize this discussion here at the panel, what are the most critical actions that countries in Eastern Europe and Central Asia should prioritize to the next phase of industrial development, and particularly in terms of strengthening innovation capabilities?
Well, short answer would probably be that we need to revisit and rewrite our understanding, our approach towards the innovation. When we talk about successes, we talk often about frontier firms, but they are only smaller part of the picture. We need to look into the entire system and think how can we strengthen our innovation ecosystems. What we saw during the keynote in the indicators slide, the area where the region is the most distant from the world frontier is actually in the area of R&D and science. We need to move from the innovation model that was dominant in the region for past decades, which was DUI, doing, using, interacting, towards science technology oriented one, because DUI is good if you are production oriented economy, but if you want to move to innovation driven competitiveness, then the story needs to rewrite in order to build domestic absorptive capacity. And I'm not speaking only here about government, about public investment in R&D. I would say the problem is even more acute and pronounced in the private sector. This, of course, then translates to educational system, where probably there is a room for some intervention in the area of vocational education, where we need the skills that lead to the on-the-job industrial realities. When it comes to firms, I would say that firm upgrading is another axis through which intervention should take place, because majority of the firms, particularly SMEs, they need practical solutions, not necessarily frontier technology models that would walk them through the digital and green transformation. And in particular, we need to find ways to incentivize their functional upgrading from basic skills to more high value added activities, again paying attention to the approach towards the foreign direct investment, because there is now abundant amount of evidence. Draghi's report was writing about it, previous many other institutions, even some of our research here at the University of Dubrovnik before that there are effective bottlenecks, and even within the EU, I would call it single market failures when it comes to technology transfer related to innovation capabilities. So we need to find way towards that. But when it comes to the core, I would say that there are a couple of main issues. First is the place-based cluster models that work through valley concepts in Poland. What we see also in Slovenia and Croatia are very nice examples of that. Finance is another challenging issue, particularly green finance gap. The further you are from the EU, the more challenging it becomes. Fiscal space is tight. There are no these alternative instruments. Something that's also very important. In the past, we used to apply to all of these countries one-size-fits-all approach, but in reality, even in sub-regions like Central Europe or Southeastern Europe, we are very heterogeneous. us. So we need these tailor-made policies. And the final thing that I think is important, something we talked yesterday on expert group meeting, is that contemporary landscape really the policies cannot keep pace with it, because it's changing so fast for traditional way policies are designed and implemented. So we need to move more aggressively towards adaptive and transformative innovation policy if we want policy to be efficient.
Thank you very much. This was I would have 1,000 questions from here to go deeper in the discussion that we've had. Thank you very much to all four of you for your insights and specific examples and also actions that we can take. A big applause for the panel, please. And thank you very much. I think we can move back to the seats, and we're going to wrap up I need to stay here so that you can hear me, to wrap up the session. And for that, it will be my great pleasure to invite Ms. Solomia Omelian, the Chief of the Regional Bureau for Europe and Central Asia at UNIDO, to deliver the closing remarks. She leads UNIDO's engagement across the entire Europe and Central Asia region. She has been instrumental in building the partnerships that made today's event possible. And her perspective will bring together the key threads of this discussion. And I've been working with her for many years, and she is just such a passionate change maker. Ms. Omelian, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Selma. Before I move to my formal closing remarks, I would like to share my personal view and opinion why I like this Industrial Development Report, our flagship publication. Already you have heard 25 years of history, so it's really a great legacy. And why I like what Cecilia and her team, Nobuya, Alejandro, and other colleagues are doing, because this is exactly what we talked about, talking about action, but action should be driven by the vision. And what you are doing in the regional chapter, together with all of our counterparts, I have to disclose to you that UNIDO is taking it on board for our programs, for our projects. This is our key service that we offer to the member states, and it is driven by the analytical work done by the report. So I am very grateful for that. So excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, I really have a true honor to close today's dialogue and thank wholeheartedly to all of our panelists and guests for being with us and to address the topic of very, very high relevance to the region of Europe and Central Asia. And your participation demonstrates a shared commitment for action, for joint reflection, and eagerness to shape the next chapter of industrial development. This is very, very dear to our heart. And as it was mentioned in the beginning, the very fact that this discussion, this dialogue is taking place on this soil in Croatia, in Dubrovnik, a country that has turned its own industrial and European journey into a very good story of success and resilience, is a great example. It's a great moment for others to learn from, and this gives to this conversation really a meaningful setting and a right spirit. I would like to remind here a few messages, especially what Cecilia said in the beginning. Thank you for that. That industrial policy now has shifted from purely a technical issue, which was rather marginalized for quite a while, to a very, very strategic one. Now everyone is talking about the importance of industrial policies. The challenge is now not whether global transformation will happen, but whether the region can position itself strategically, facing this transformation and moving from just participating and observing into global value chains and to creating more value within them. Our panelists have given us a lot of important perspectives from very different angles, and we appreciate that a lot. So Hungarian angle, Mr. Kocsis offered really a very compelling reminder about the importance of having a vision and about the importance of reconfiguration of global value chains is a question of regional integration that is so important, and Hungary's deep experience shows us this. Ms. Jakubova pointed the urgency of translating the region's renewable energy potential and taking action on climate agenda into genuine green industrial upgrading, and the importance of regional institutions like HES, SESECOS, into making the pilot projects a scalable, commercially viable initiatives. And you underlined the importance also of ownership. I feel it so much that not only now the Eastern European countries that are always in the forefront recently, or Southern European, but also Central Asia and Caucasus, and you did it very well that you highlighted it, are very much taking ownership and driving the agenda in the region. That makes us very, very happy, and we are happy to collaborate. Mr. Duma, Albanian example, underlined again the importance of industrial policy, quality infrastructure development, renewable energies, artificial intelligence, and all this, if taken properly on board, can allow smaller economies to really leapfrog into higher value-added activities. Rector Stojcic went into very deep analysis and offered to us also broader picture of our growth model, which is very interesting, and reminded us that megatrends bring real opportunities for the region, provided the right actions are taken to seize them. And while acknowledging the diverse context, we see that countries are very different across Europe and Central Asia. The trends presented today through the report and debated among our panelists under the skilled guidance of our moderator, Selma, paint a very clear picture of both the obstacles that we have to tackle through action and opportunities which we have to seize jointly. The sectors where global demand is accelerating, such as clean energy, electric mobility, digital manufacturing, agro-processing mentioned today, automotive, align directly with where the region's strengths lie. Now is the moment to act on these openings and not only to observe that. With that, I would like to sincerely thank all of our panelists for bringing your views, your reflections to these events. Your expertise is absolutely amazing, and I see that you are really translating the vision into concrete solutions, into concrete actions in your countries, and I highly appreciate your insights into that. And on a separate note, speaking of the action, I also would like to thank very concrete people who are behind this event, and namely, I would like to mention Ms. Masha Matkovic, head of the Directorate of Multilateral Economic Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and European Affairs of Croatia, and Mihaela Baric, Deputy Permanent Representative of Croatia to UNIDO. Thanks to them, we are here, so thank you so much. Let me close now, strongly reaffirming that UNIDO stands ready to be a partner to each of you, to every country represented in this room and also globally, many more across the region. And I hope we share this ambition together, and we leave this panel with a genuine sense of enthusiasm and great motivation to work together, generate results in the region and beyond. Thank you very much.
Closing words, I think there is nothing more to say. The report is available over there. You can check it also from the website. It has been a tremendous honor and pleasure to be here today with you, to learn from you, and to be inspired by the actions you're doing. Thank you very much, and enjoy Dubrovnik.